So I'm going to start in a place I had no intention of starting, but I'm going to go there. So how do you know you're among your people?
When you can start someplace you can
Wherever you like. And everybody just flows with it and goes with me, and I wander. So good luck, Roxanne, on following me with that camera. That's cute. I love unity. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church and stayed there for 40 years. Even went to a Southern Baptist seminary and was licensed and ordained as a Southern Baptist minister. And the whole time, learning a lot and good, I still wondered, what are you doing here? It doesn't match what you believe. But what it did was matched what my mom believed and where she took me to church. So as a part of that, my first job in ministry was a youth pastor. 21 years old, we went to a church camp. I had 3 guys in my room that were 13. 21, 13, yeah, you know I knew a lot about helping them out along the way. So every night, one of them loved music. And just about time I would go to sleep, he would start singing in the garden, loudly. Made sure I was wide awake and heard every verse of In the Garden. I really thought it had like 8 or 9 verses for a long time because he sang it so many times over and over. Every night for 5 nights. So when I got here and saw In the Garden, it's a message from the universe. You are where you are supposed to be. The other way is way less spiritual. There's a fan. You have no clue how excited that makes me. And Roxanne even showed me where to stand. It's the best place for fan usage. Thank you.
The sweet spot for the day.
That's it. On February 10th, you guys had a service called The Best of Times is Now. Thank you. Thank you for the best of times from Lakaja Full. I was about to have surgery. I had knee replacement surgery. And I was walking every night about 2.5 miles, even though it hurt, to lose as much weight as I could before the surgery. And I decided the best thing that I could do was listen to trusted Unity ministers in places where I knew the services were in line with what I believed. So music, messages from all of my Unity minister friends. I listened to that message. I'm walking right along, loving the music, and then Roxanne hit me in the head with a 2x4. When she talked about the exercise she had done, where you write down your 5 top priorities.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then you write down everything you've done for the last 4 days, and then you compare them to each other. Where did they fit? So the next day, I actually did it. Sat down at my desk, wrote down my 5 priorities. Hopefully my boss isn't listening right now. And I wrote down my 5 priorities, and then later that night, I wrote down what I had done for the past 4 days. There wasn't a lot of match there, to be honest. So then I went back and looked at my credo. A credo is what they make you write when you're in ministerial school and LUT school, where you write out what it is you believe. Not what Unity believes, not what anything else or anybody believes. What do you believe? And I wrote mine out, and all 10 pages typed out were really, really good. And then I read the instructions. It said, your credo can be 1 page in length. So I took my pen out, and I edited, and I cut everything, and I got it down to some really basic beliefs, starting with love. Because that's the basis and foundation for everything. I am an administrator at the University of Central Florida, so I work with a lot of kids, and most of the kids I work with are the LGBT group. So for me, diversity and inclusion are extremely important. And I want to say to you the same thing I say to everybody when I teach diversity and inclusion, though that's not my topic today. Diversity is counting beans. Inclusion is making sure all those beans are in your soup. Because we can be diverse with people who are here, but if we're not all at the table and all included, we are not an inclusive place. I know you to be, and I thank you. So, I want you to say something with me, as loud as you can. I am powerful. I am powerful. I make things happen. I make things happen. I am wise. I am wise. You believe it?
Yeah.
You believe that I am wise part?
Yes.
Good. That's a great start. Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore said, as we grow in consciousness, we're able to activate great powers that we already possess. He listed out 12 powers. I'm not going to ask you to name them, but I will read them to you because honestly I'll leave some out if I don't look at them too. Faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. Powers that we already have living in us. Powers that we can activate when we align ourselves with God. That's pretty cool. We have great power. I always wanted a superpower. Kind of wanted to fly, but I guess I'll take the 12 that we've been offered, that we already have living in us. So as I was going to school to be an LUT, the very last thing I learned were the 12 powers. I can't remember if you taught my 12 powers class or Janelle, but I had taken the class, and I did everything I was supposed to do and got credit for the class, but I didn't memorize the 12 powers. And as I go to Unity Village to take my SDS classes, before I actually do my presentation and test, everybody in my cohort knew all 12 powers. And they could tell you the disciple that went with it, the color that went with it, the month of the year that went with it. All of those things we were supposed to know. I had no clue. And I told them so. Probably shouldn't have done that. The third week of classes, right before we do our demonstration, we had a 4-hour class called Unity Prayer, or Praying for Unity Leaders. And Reverend Jenny Roll taught the class, and she put up on the board the 12 powers on the screen. And she said, for the next 5 days, 4 hours a day, we're going to discuss the 12 powers. Every person in my class turned and looked at me and smiled. Because they knew that I still didn't know the 12 powers and how to use them in my daily life. Because I told them, probably not the brightest thing in the world. And my next thought was, universe, please let her lead those 12 powers on that screen. If not, I'm just going to have to admit, I don't know. She did. I claimed it as victory that all those 12 powers stayed up there for 5 days, 4 hours a day. And by the time we left, I knew those 12 powers. I know the disciple associated with every one. I know the color of every one. And trust me, I don't care what month they fall into. That's a man-contrived thing that doesn't really have anything to do with me. So this morning we're going to talk about one of my favorite powers, wisdom. Thus the title, Trust Your Gut. Where is wisdom found in the body? Anybody know? Solar plexus, right in the gut. Trust your wisdom, trust your gut. How many of you know that you have the ability to make wise decisions? Okay, everybody needs to raise your hand. I told you that like 2 minutes ago. Making sure we're listening. I did spend 25 years as a teacher, so I will probably pull you out and later there's a test. We all have the power to make wise decisions. Now here's the one some of us may want to leave our hand down. How many of us make wise decisions every day? Some. Now here's a harder one. How many of us are convinced that every decision we make is a wise one? Yeah, I need to sit on both hands at that point. Not so much. The Metaphysical Dictionary says wisdom is an intuitive knowing, spiritual intuition, the voice of God within us as the source of our understanding. It includes judgment, discrimination, and intuition. Every day we use wisdom. You made decisions before you ever got here this morning. That's wisdom and judgment. So a lot of these powers we think are this mystical thing inside of us. No, we're using them constantly. Using them for good, using them in our higher consciousness, may be a different thing. But we're using wisdom every day. So I want you to think with me for a moment. In your ego state, all in my head, when I am using wisdom, what kind of decisions am I making? Logical. Decisions based entirely on my experiences. That's normal. That is one of the ways we learn, and one of the ways that wisdom works through us is through our experiences, through what we know. Now, I've asked 3 people to participate in the Reader's Theater. So if you guys would come up now, the 3 of you, they did not see the script till I got here this morning. So they're going to come up and I'm going to ask you to show us an example of unity, Twilight Zone, in the use of wisdom.
I wonder, should I wear the red or the blue?
Yellow.
The red makes me look peaked, and I think the blue needs to be washed.
Wear the yellow.
If I put a sweater over the stain, I bet the blue one would be fine.
How about the yellow?
Maybe I'll wear the yellow.
What we are witnessing is a glimpse into the average mind in the earthly realm of consciousness. A normal and ordinary woman making plans for a typical run-of-the-mill day. However, today we are about to see more. Today we take an observer's view, and from the depths of the unchanging realm we are able to detect the activity of divine ideas in action. Beyond the ever-changing outer appearances, we are able to glimpse wisdom in action. We are able to hear the voice of discernment, and yes, we are able to feel the power of judgment in this woman's life. For after all, the average man or woman on a typical day doesn't make it out the door without the ability to evaluate and make choices. But how aware is this quotidian woman? What choices will she make? And what outcomes will she create? Let us observe and find out here in the Unity Twilight Zone.
Oh, I don't know. Yellow's too bold, isn't it?
The yellow is great, really.
But the red doesn't work, and the blue has a stain. Oh, what shall I do? I just can't make up my mind.
Just listen. You got this.
Huh?
The yellow brings confidence.
I don't know. The yellow does help me feel confident.
And it's fresh from the cleaners.
Yes, yes, this is good. Yellow it will be, and the boss likes yellow, and I love the boss, and I want the boss to like me. So I'll go out and get yellow Post-it notes and pens and highlighters and a yellow stapler. And a car, a yellow car. Yes!
Whoa, Nellie. Attraction is good, but there can be too much of a good thing.
Oh, but that's a bit much, isn't it? But I really do like the boss, and the boss really likes yellow, and the boss likes pretzels too.
Pretzels are fine, just not too many.
A simple demonstration of divine ideas at work is in the life of a normal, everyday woman. And yet, there is so much more at play here. The power of wisdom partnering gracefully with the powers of love and understanding. The perceptive, evaluative quality of judgment combined with the executive deciding faculty of the will. And all of this, a depth of wisdom ever to be tapped, is available to even the most average of us all. In fact, not only available, these these divine ideas are in action at all times, whether we pay attention or not. And all for us to see here today in the Unity Twilight Zone.
Thank you, actors. I told Roxanne I needed people who would overact. One more thing. If you can't have fun in church, what's the point? Same in life. You gotta have fun, and you gotta laugh, and you gotta enjoy it. So when we look at the things that were just in that short Reader's Theater, and let me make a side note really quick. Thank you, Cheryl Fair, who wrote that, who is a licensed Unity teacher in Bon Air, or Unity of Bon Air in Virginia. She is a professional actor and has been gracious enough to share some of her works with me to use. As I was saying, when it's underdeveloped, when our wisdom is underdeveloped, we're only in ego. We're looking at experiences. We're looking at, I can't make a decision. I don't want to make a decision. There's too many options. There's too many things to choose from. I'm indecisive. Maybe I can't even see the difference between good and bad. Know people who've been there? Ever been there? Let me tell you, when I'm there more than anything else, where would you like to go to eat tonight? I genuinely don't care, normally. The problem is, when both partners are going, I don't care, then we just sit in the car. And we can't ask the little one who's here with me, because the answer to that is pizza or tacos. We only eat them so many days. It's hard to make a choice sometimes. We were at a Christmas party after we first moved here, and I was working for another university then, and the president of the school decided to go around and say what she liked about each one of us. And when she got to me, she goes, I really love the way Hank makes a quick decision, and he's never indecisive. He makes a decision, and then he sticks with it, and if he realizes it's wrong, he will fix it. But he always makes a fast decision. And my partner gently and quietly leaned over to me and said, who in the world is she talking about? He doesn't remember that time period. I don't forget it. Because at that point, I was totally indecisive about all kinds of different things. So in that ego state, we can be underdeveloped. We can also be overdeveloped. At that point, we become judgmental. Everything everybody does is wrong. And I expect you to be absolutely as perfect as I obviously am. And I'm going to pick apart every little thing. You've likely know some people like that on occasion too. I got my topic for SDS, which is the student demonstration of, you actually teach a class, basically, in front of other ministers to determine if you're qualified to be a licensed Unity teacher. And they gave me wisdom. I think it's why I've been working on it now for the last 2 years. But they gave me that topic. And I went in and I shared with one of my friends, I got wisdom, also known as judgment. He looked at me with the sweetest, most kind look and goes, that's great, you've been pretty judgmental all week, you'll ace that one. Sometimes it takes a friend to let you know where you are. But we all get in that underdeveloped and that overdeveloped status. Our goal is to be in our highest state of consciousness, where we access wisdom not based just necessarily on our understanding, not dependent on reasoning, but sometimes you just know what is right. 1 Kings 3:16 through 28 is the story of King Solomon. Most of us know that story, but I have learned not to assume that people know Bible stories. So let me read you. 1 Kings 3:16 through 28. One day 2 women came to King Solomon, and one of them said, Your Majesty, this woman and I live in the same house. Not long ago, my baby was born at home, and 3 days later, her baby was born. One night, while we were asleep, she rolled over on her baby, and he died. Then, while I was still asleep, she got up and took my son out of my bed and put him in her own. She took her dead baby and put him next to me. In the morning, when I got up to feed my son, I saw that he was dead. But when I looked at him in the light, I knew he wasn't my son. No, the other woman shouted. He was your son. My baby is alive. The dead baby is yours, the first woman yelled. Mine is alive. They argued back and forth in front of Solomon until finally he said, both of you say this live baby is yours. Someone bring me a sword. A sword was brought and Solomon ordered, cut the baby in half. That way each of you can have part of him. Please don't kill my son, the baby's mother screamed. Your Majesty, I love him so very much, but give him to her, just don't kill him. The other woman shouted, go ahead, cut him in half. Then neither of us have the baby. Solomon said, don't kill the baby. Then he pointed to the first woman. She is his real mother. Give the baby to her. Everyone in Israel was amazed when they heard how Solomon had made his decision. They realized that God had given him wisdom to judge fairly. That same wisdom that Solomon possessed, that Jesus, our way shower and example, possessed, lives in every one of us. To the same degree. John 14:12, Jesus told his followers, the things that I do are good, but you will do even greater things. We have to access the 12 powers, the wisdom that lives in each one of us. Each of us have it inside of us. There are times when we make decisions that nobody else gets. If I teach a class, the first thing I start with is, you are on your journey, no one else's. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. You are not competing with anyone else on this earth. When I went to physical therapy the first day after my surgery, the physical therapist was trying to manipulate my knee, and she said, your body's fighting me. So I want to put you on this cruel device called a flexionator. Some of you know. You put your leg in the thing, and then you pull on a little pulley, and it pins your knee. And she looked at me and said, I do that because most people will cause themselves more pain than they will allow me to cause them. So I looked at her with all honesty and love and said, sweetheart, you don't know me. I am not hurting myself, so you might as well just keep on doing what you do. Reality is, I learned to like that machine. Because at that point, I'm competing against myself. I had a goal of how my knee needed to bend. They give you a certain degree you're supposed to hit. And I was determined to get it fast. So I got released from physical therapy in my 6th week, as opposed to most people who do 11 or 12. Because I competed with me. In life, in use of wisdom, in use of every power, you are only competing with yourself. To live your very best life on this plane. Sometimes the decisions you make won't make any sense to other people. And one of the things I like to share with people is, sometimes you shouldn't be telling everybody else your stuff. If you have had a deeply spiritual connection or something that really connects with you and fits with you, other people may not understand. Be careful who you share your deepest thoughts and beliefs with. Because if they question you or start telling you that you're wrong, you might start to believe them. Go your path. If it doesn't make sense, but you know in your gut it's the right thing, do it. For me, becoming an LUT was one of those things. And let me say, because I thanked you many times, but never in front of you, because you were not there when I got my certificate and stuff, thank you. I am an LUT because your Reverend Roxanne made sure I got every class I needed when I needed it. She ensured I did it in the time limit that I said I want to do this, and you got it there for me. Thank you. And you taught many of them. So, for me, that made no sense. I'm in my 35th year in higher education. Becoming a licensed Unity teacher doesn't make another penny for me. It took 37 classes and a whole lot of money. Actually, I could have gone to ministerial school cheaper than becoming a licensed Unity teacher, but this is what I was supposed to do. So when I told my friends what I was doing, a lot of them just looked at me like I had lost my mind. Thankfully, I had great support both at home and at work. I had people who were willing to work with me to make sure I could get my classes in and get my time in. But it really didn't make sense. From a very logical standpoint, the University of Central Florida was not giving me an extra nickel for any of this. But it was my calling. It's what I was supposed to do. Trust your gut. I'm not saying throw logic out the door. I'm not saying throw your experiences out the door. I am saying they work together. And sometimes you know deeply inside you what you're supposed to do. Trust your gut. I was sharing with a friend that as a child, my dad had a phrase that generally got me in a lot of trouble. His phrase was, "Do I look that stupid to you?" Logic tells me, do not answer that question. My gut told me every time, do not answer that question. Occasionally I answered it anyway. But it is a good example of how logic and wisdom and your gut work together. You just know some things are right and some things are wrong. And that is the power of wisdom that lives in each one of us. Trust your gut. I am powerful. I am